Hello everybody, welcome to Poli Games. I'm your host Joseph, and today we're going to be talking about the PlayStation VR. So if you guys could like this video, it definitely helps me out, and thank you in advance because that's how YouTube works now. So let's talk about the PlayStation VR. A lot of articles have been swimming around about the PlayStation's VR's health in the industry. They look at the recent termination of Guerrilla Games Cambridge, the makers of Riggs, one of their flagship games for the VR, as something that's a worrying sign. Seeing that there's not a whole lot of games worth getting for the VR headset after months after the games or the console's release is somewhat worrying. And also seeing how over the horizon, no pun intended, that there seems to be not a lot of games coming out for the console. But I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about why the PlayStation VR is losing me as a customer. And before I get into this, I don't want to talk about why this console sucks or it's horrible or whatnot. I don't want to shit on anybody's enjoyment. If you enjoy this VR headset, then please enjoy it. Stop this video. You don't need to listen anymore. I don't want to get you angry. This is just one customer's complaint, just my opinion. So let's get right into it. First things first is the problem that I have with the VR headset is there doesn't seem to be that many killer exclusives or must-have games for this console. Now, there have been a number of great games that have come out on the PlayStation VR, right? Job Simulator, Batman Arkham VR, Rush of Blood is one of my favorites, Res Infinite, even the X-Wing game I really enjoyed on Battlefront. Yet the problem is with most of these VR games is that they're a one and done deal. Once you beat Batman Arkham VR, you don't really ever have to go back to it. There's not enough replayability in many of these VR games, and most of these VR games are short and sweet. Most of them right now are experiences or tech demos rather than games. And I understand, we're still in the infancy of VR. Just like how I picture it being the arcade game equivalent, that we're in the arcade era of VR. But at least those games like Galaga, they're worth playing over and over again for hours on end. None of these games carry the same weight. Now you might say, well, Joe, Resident Evil 7's coming out. That looks awesome. The demo's amazing. Res Infinite's great. Like, there's a lot of good VR games that do have playability to them. But all those games can also be played without the VR headset. VR isn't a necessity in order to play these games. Now, the next complaint I have is way personal to me. It might not affect everybody, but it has affected me when playing the VR headset. And it is a common issue amongst gamers, and that is I get sick while playing this. And that's weird because I've never been motion sickness in my life. I've never had that, ever. I've never been car sick. I've been on boats, never been sick on a boat. Been on planes. Nothing has ever affected my stomach. It's an ironclad. Look at me. Nothing affects it other than VR. Every time I played Valkyrie for the 15 minutes I would have to put the headset down, lay down, because I would have cold sweats. Every time I played Riggs, I would get dizzy and I feel like I would throw up. Or sometimes when I take off the VR headset, I feel weird, a sense that my reality is kind of distorted, I guess is the only way I can really describe it. It's a weird sensation that I do not like feeling, and sadly over half of these games do, and I feel like VR is just maybe not made for me. And that kind of sucks. And lastly, and I know this is going to feel like I'm, nitpicking here, but two things. I'm going to combine them into one. Cumbersome, it's a wiry mess, and to get it all set up and situated and start playing is a bit of a process, and it's an annoying one at that. I've had the lenses fog up more times than I have to, and I have to wipe them away and then readjust it, and then start the screen back up every 5 minutes while I'm playing. And then when it's bright out, sometimes, yes, it does interfere with the tracking of the bulbs because it's tracking the lights at the end of your wands and on your mask and on your controller on mask. What is this fucking... your headset. Now, with that, again, maybe I'm just being a little nitpicky here. I do understand that this is a first-gen product, that this is, essentially I'm a beta tester, and that's fine, and I'm all right with spending the amount of money I did to find out that it's not for me. So I don't want to make it like I'm bitching and that nobody should buy a PlayStation VR. I just want to make people wary of the complications I had with the machine. I hope VR is a success. I don't want my failures with the machine to be yours. I just want to let them be known to people. I understand that maybe after the second gen or third generation of these headsets, they'll figure out movement and, how to figure out the motion sickness that people get with the machine. I'm confident in that. It's just an issue that all these VR companies have to solve. And the one problem I feel like with Sony is maybe their heart's not fully in it. And the problem with Oculus is that they're in so much legal trouble. If you've heard any of those things, I'll probably make a video about it. And the thing with Vive is just, it's a little bit too expensive. So right now, VR is still very much a niche, but I hope it does grow. It's expensive, and I hope it gets cheaper over time. But who knows? Maybe someone comes out of the woodwork with a VR headset that blows everybody out of the water. Maybe it's a company that's like Microsoft, Apple, or Google that have, I said all those three really weird, but nonetheless, that have all this unlimited cash to throw to make sure VR is a success for everybody. So with all that said, with all that out of the way, what do you think about VR right now? Are you losing faith like me? Are you amped up and you're excited for the future of VR? Let me know in the comment section down below, and better yet too, answer this question. I would love to hear it. Who do you think is going to master VR? Is it any of the main three at the moment? Or do you think it's going to be an outside entity like Microsoft, Google, or Apple? Let me know. Or Samsung, they're big too. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think is the future of VR. With that said, like I said, I don't want to shit on anybody if they're liking this. I really don't want to make that same mistake I did with the Switch, where I just bashed it out of my first emotion and then I kind of regretted that. So with all that out of the way, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like, share, sub. It helps me out when you subscribe, guys, and like, it shows me that I'm doing a good job, and I really appreciate it. I really, really, really love you guys. Have a great day.